Now, besides hot flashes, insomnia is one of the most aggravating symptoms that any woman can suffer from. Now, let's talk about the best way to treat menopausal insomnia. While there are more than 40 symptoms associated with menopause, the top 5 are hot flashes, insomnia, weight gain, mood swings, and low libido. Today we're going to talk about insomnia. No one wants to be tossing and turning in the middle of the night, having trouble falling asleep, and then waking up in the wee morning hours. Even if you're not having a night sweat, waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep is common during menopause. It affects over 60% of women going through the change. You know you're experiencing menopausal insomnia when you wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. and you can't fall back to sleep. Insomnia in menopause is also due to hypothalamic dysregulation. Your hypothalamus controls your day-night cycles. Within your hypothalamus are nerves called hypothalamic nuclei that are innervated by your exposure to light. These nerves literally tell your pineal gland to produce melatonin after dusk and stop making melatonin at dawn. The hypothalamic nuclei are incredibly sensitive to light waves. Now, it's an interesting process what happens at dusk. The pink light of dusk blocks the blue light of daytime, which turns on melatonin production. And when the sun rises, melatonin drops and your hypothalamus produces dopamine, which stimulates cortisol surge so that you can start your day. Now, there's 2 reasons for having insomnia during the change. First, when your progesterone levels start to fall in perimenopause, you start to have trouble falling asleep, and that's because progesterone helps you to produce GABA, which then allows your body and your mind to relax so you can start to fall asleep. And then as you progress through perimenopause and you enter menopause, you start having trouble staying asleep, and you tend to wake up in the wee morning hours, usually between 2 and 4 a.m., not always because you're having a horrible hot flash or a night sweat. Second, you wake up in the middle of the night because your low levels of estrogen cause your hypothalamus to be dysregulated. Remember, your hypothalamus controls your circadian rhythm, so when it's out of balance, your adrenal glands are triggered to produce cortisol at the wrong time. You're supposed to produce high levels of cortisol at dawn, peaking between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., but instead, you're producing cortisol spikes in the middle of the night, and it's cortisol that wakes you up. You're anxious, your heart is racing, you may have a hot flash, you cannot go back to sleep. Usually you wake up because we have to urinate, but the inability to fall back asleep is because your estrogen levels are low and your cortisol levels are high at night, which dysregulates your hypothalamus. So how do you treat insomnia? Well, taking hormone replacement therapy definitely will help your insomnia. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is preferred. Estrogen to keep you from waking up in the middle of the night, and progesterone to help you fall asleep. Remember, if you take estrogen, you should be taking progesterone anyhow. It helps protect your tissues from unwanted growth. And of course, taken in a transdermal form through the skin rather than by mouth, so you do not increase your risk of blood clots. Now, taking estrogen and progesterone when your ovaries are no longer producing them is fine, and it can be taken as long as you need it. Every woman is different, so whether you take hormone replacement therapy or not is an individual decision. Treating women's hormones should be personalized, not by a general protocol where everybody gets the same thing and the same amount. Now, melatonin can also help deal with insomnia temporarily. Taking melatonin all the time, like any hormone taken constantly without a break, will suppress your ability to make it. But your pineal gland should be producing melatonin all your life. Now, granted, you're producing much less as you get older. The elderly make very, very low levels of melatonin. They sleep for much shorter periods of time than young people do. But if you're taking high doses of melatonin, particularly, you're going to suppress your pineal gland's ability to make melatonin. And you'll become dependent on melatonin and having to take increasingly higher and higher doses in order to sleep. Now, if you're having trouble falling asleep, a short-acting melatonin can work. And if you're having trouble staying asleep, you want a long-acting, sustained-release melatonin. But the most effective way to reset your circadian rhythm and not be dependent on melatonin or hormone therapy is to support your hypothalamus. And we talk a lot about the best ways to deal with insomnia in our hormone support group, which you can access by joining our hormone reboot training. Your hypothalamus controls your day-night cycles, and it's your day-night cycles that are off because your hypothalamus is dysregulated by your low hormone levels during the change of life. Then you're going to have a lot of trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. So it is crucial that you support your hypothalamus. When your hypothalamus functions optimally, it's going to help you reach the deepest level of sleep at night and feel rejuvenated in the morning. I love how the phytonutrients in Genesis Gold and amino acids in Sacred 7 support your hypothalamus to reset your circadian rhythm and help you sleep through the night. It's so amazing to me how much your hypothalamus controls, including your rate of aging, your temperature, your weight set point, your metabolism, and how your body functions in the daytime versus nighttime. Now check out my next video on menopause symptoms.